Confirmation bias or something like that. Yeah, but you don't hear the hundreds of people who've tried it and it's totally triggered that binge response. So yeah, I just think like if you know yourself as a person and you think that that would be something that would work for you, try it. It's just another tool in the toolbox. Kind of like I think there's
Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It has been quite a while since I last spoke to you. I am super excited to use my new camera and new microphone. Still figuring out how to use everything, so if the quality isn't as good, I'm sure it'll be better. But yeah, I think I've hooked up my mic properly this time, so we'll see. I'm currently 32 weeks tomorrow pregnant. Bump update. So much has happened. So yeah, it's hard looking at the camera. Anyway, you can see that Bum's not dropped yet. She's still quite high up. I weigh roughly. I'm nearly 13 stone now. I'm 12 stone 11. So creeping up now. Apparently she's going to be putting on ½ pound a week now, and I can definitely feel it. Been struggling with iron deficiency. It's my own fault. I should have been taking it, and then my iron ran out, and it was on my to-do list to get, and then I just fell behind. So my own doing, but I'm on it at the moment, and the compliance is obviously, and I'm complying more with it as well. I definitely do. It feels like, you know, when you don't take a breath when you're meant to, so you've got to catch up. It's like that, and I'm out of breath when I'm going upstairs. I just know I'm tired, and I'm still obviously low. I had my bloods checked on Friday. Today is Sunday, New Year's Day. So Happy New Year. But planning on going out for a walk. But since I last saw you, I went to the pelvic floor physio and just got everything checked. I recommend, if you've never been pregnant before, or if you've had kids before, or as a woman, your pelvic floor changes year on year anyway, with like the work you do, like if it's a physical job, etc. And over time we can forget how to connect to it, especially once we've had kids. So I just wanted to make sure it was strong. I was able, like on both sides, superficially and more internally strong, and it's like ready to support a growing baby. Like I said, like my last baby was £9, 8 ounce, so it's been a bit of a worry the size of this baby, which I'll get onto in a minute. So yeah, like my pelvic floor physio. So what happened was I went to Stirling Community Hospital. This was a voluntary thing I put my name down for. It isn't really offered to you. If you speak to your midwife, she'll point you in the right direction, but there's not much guidance. In my opinion, midwives should be trained in the pelvic floor since it's holding the baby up and it helps you push the baby out, and it plays a major role in labour and birth and pregnancy and postnatally and recovery. So so if you're able to do an internal assessment where you are, I'd highly recommend it. So she put her fingers in me, obviously, superficially, felt the tone. She said it was strong. She asked me to take deep breaths in and relax it and tense it as hard as I could whilst I was breathing. I learned a lot. I knew there was something off about it, but obviously I'm not a specialist in that field, although I do know quite a bit about it. It was good to have somebody who was actually able to tell me what the issue was. So, which I'll get into in a second. So she said like it's strong, I'm able to relax it, which is important as well when I need to, because obviously if you can't relax your pelvic floor, you can't pee or poo on the toilet. And if it's strong, it's going to hold the baby, and you're going to be able to hold pee and poo when you don't want to go to the toilet. And I've obviously been doing Pilates at least once a week. Generally I've been training 3 times a week for strength and 1 Pilates, and been trying, be mindful of my steps. So I've been clocking out no less than 50k a week. And I tell you, that's been a struggle to get, especially with iron deficiency. So as I'm in the 3rd trimester now, I do have an extra 300 calories to use, but I'm not using them. I'm just reducing my activity, so 6 and 2 3s really. So still trying to get as many steps as I can. Like I said, we're going to plan on going for a New Year's Day walk today, steak pies in the slow cooker. Anyway, so the pelvic floor physio had said when you breathe in, relax your pelvic floor. No, sorry, breathe in and out, just like you normally would. This is with her fingers inside my vaginal canal. And she was quite deep as well to get, obviously, to see further up if everything was connecting as it should. And she did feel like I wasn't connecting as much as I should be. So you should naturally, when you breathe in, relax your pelvic floor, and when you breathe out, you should naturally tense your pelvic floor. She could hardly feel. She said that it was happening, but just not much. So I've been practicing that and pushing it onto my participants in my Pilates classes, and concentrating on that and teaching about that, making women more mindful of that. It is something that I struggle with, because you'd think as you breathe in, you would hold in your pelvic floor, but it's the opposite way. If you think about you're making room for the oxygen, so your diaphragm needs to come up, your pelvic floor needs to come down as you breathe in. So as that's happening, you need to relax your pelvic floor. So when you think about it like that, it makes sense. But as a lifter of many years, we are taught to do the opposite, and it's also subconscious as well now for me. So that's something that I've actively been trying to work on, and it has been getting easier. So if you do try that, so can it help to connect to the pelvic floor? So when you breathe in, you want to relax, so kind of push out like you're pushing out a wee on the toilet, like you're just relaxing your urethra, where your pee comes from, your vaginal canal and your anus. And then as you breathe out, you're holding everything in, like you don't want to pee yourself or poo yourself. So make sure you are connecting to the anus and the urethra, because some people think that they are, I can go into this in more detail if need be, but some people think that they're connecting to the anus or the urethra when they're not, or they're doing one or the other or neither. So again, this is all the more reason to have pelvic floor physio check, because she did check when she asked me to engage my anus or urethra. I was able to do that and connect to them at the same time, and separately able to isolate, which is also really important. So yeah, engaging the pelvic floor. So you want to hold everything in, and then you want that to travel up, that tone, that strength in your stomach, your belly button, and your rib cage, bringing in. So you over exaggerate the movement, because the pelvic floor at the end of the day is just like any other muscle group. Once trained, it does get stronger. She said as well that I did have a really good range of movement, which is obviously really good as well. But yeah, it was really interesting, really informative. So she said up to I think it was up to 6 weeks postnatal, I get physio on the NHS. So I need to make sure once I've given birth, I'll book in with her again and see the damage. Damage control. So I know exactly what to work on, because it's like going blind. So a lot of people will be strengthening the pelvic floor, and they actually have got the opposite problem, and they can't relax it. So, and as well, pelvic floor dysfunction over time can cause back pain, because if you think about it, it works as a unit with the back and all works together. We've been trying to get ready for the baby. So I'm going to take this camera off. As you can see, it's my partner's desk where I'll be working from, and that's mine. So there's still a TV to go up. There's a lot more space down here. I do want somewhere. We do want somewhere to put my weight outside. But there's so much to sort. But that means the 4 bedrooms upstairs will all be like, apart from ours, the rest will be for children. So it makes sense as well. There's so much more space down here. It's airy. There's lots of plants. It's got to store a couple of my fake plants, but that's okay. Yeah, so on the growth of the baby, so what it was on my antenatal. So like I said, my last baby was £9.8, and although that is still on the above the 80th percentile, she's big for me and my body, and hence me getting the 4th degree tear. So it is routine to be offered a C-section. Do not want C-section. One of the main reasons, amongst a lot of the others, is when the baby passes through the vaginal canal, picks up a massive amount of bacteria, and that bacteria sets the baby up for life, for its immune system. Whereas if they're coming out of a sterile C-section, and then although like she will be breastfed, they're still not as, like, the immune system still isn't going to be as top notch. Plus as well, it's the recovery, it's major surgery, and you're not meant to lift anything. It's a bit ridiculous, really. I think they've changed it now where you can lift your baby at least, but come on, it's major surgery, shouldn't be. It's just unrealistic. Like, they say that you can't be picking up any washing and stuff, and then of course it's another site of rehabilitation and things to go wrong. I've got a 5 to 7% risk of tearing again, going vaginal, which isn't much in my eyes. I have put in my birth plan that I want a midwife to control the cut. Now, it wasn't the head that I tore. I was able to figure this out with my stepmom and sister. I remember, because obviously it's a bit foggy when you're in labour and things. I didn't tear from a head, because I remember feeling the head. So it's quite graphic. Because I remember there was a pause and everything was calm and the head was out. It was when the shoulders came out. That's when I tore. But I do believe there was some rows about my birth on the ward and how I was made to push without a contraction. I was told she was going to go back in the U-bend, which is obviously a lie if her head's out. I was said that lady, she's stuck. Unless I'm getting it all mixed up, which is a possibility. But I know I was made to push with a contraction. I was told without a contraction I was made to push. So this time as well, I wanted to be in a squatting position because I couldn't have my water birth because I was 42 plus 1 weeks. Couldn't have my water birth, so I wanted to squat. But how they had me, it's kind of like, yeah, you're squatting, but the bed was fully supporting me and I was slightly back, so I felt like I was cheating a little bit. Like, this is like come from my own research afterwards. So I'm a lot more onto it this time. I think the second time round, at least, you've got a lot more confidence. So we went for a growth scan on Friday to see. That's another thing. The midwives at Stirling had said, no, she wasn't that big, your baby. Just in the 80th percentile. I think she's like 82%. So I was like, right, okay. It's like everyone else is saying that she was big. But anyway, so I went to obstetrics appointment in lab a couple of weeks later. She says, no, but she was big for you and your body frame. I remember them saying on the ward, like, you'd think you were some Amazonian woman besides a baby you've given birth to. You should have seen, actually, I'll attach a picture of Ariadne here. You can just see the size of her. She looks like she's a couple of months old, honestly. She doesn't look newborn. But of course I was 42 weeks and I was inducted by a suite, which is the only induction I would use. Like, as you know by now, I like to keep everything as natural as possible, and one of the reasons is, as well, synthetic oxytocin, which is used for inducting labour. With it being synthetic, it mimics natural oxytocin, and because it's not real, it makes labour way more intense and painful and longer. So the obstetric said that she was big for you though in your frame, which totally made sense. Like, duh. Like, I'm not more than a statistic. It's not just black and white, is it? But midwives in Sterling failed to see that. So, like, I've already lost a bit of, what's the word? I've already lost a bit of faith in them, shall we say, for that. And other reasons as well. So, both of these. And then I was waiting for the consultant to talk to me about if it was going to be concerning like the size or if it was fine and stuff. Now I have been keeping up my activity, like my steps, keeping busy, my workouts as well, and eating sensibly. And because I'd read somewhere, or a few places, I can't remember now, that this can control the weight of your baby. Absolute bullshit. I was so shocked. So, whilst I was waiting for the consultant, I was on my Badger app, which you get with in Scotland anyway, and it tracks any results and like if any microbiology tests and scans and everything's on there. So I was just seeing if it had been plotted yet, the growth chart, and I compared it with my last baby's 3 years ago. It's also on the app. And around this time, Ariadne was bang on the 50th percentile, which sounds alright, doesn't it? But the trajectory is obviously up and away. So then I compared that with this baby. This baby is bigger. She's like 52 or 54 percentile. It's hard to see because it's on a graph. So I was ready. Like, I thought, if this doctor is going to be saying what the midwife said in Sterling, yeah, she's only on the 50th percentile, it's fine. I'm going to be ready for it. Because they don't like, they're human at the end of the day, right? That's what you've got to remember. So question everything. So we finally got in to see her after about 45-day wait. And she said, so I kind of had to explain why we're here. Like, she's not read notes or anything. And she says, oh, it seems fine, she's on the 50th percentile. It's like, yeah, but when you compare it to my last baby, who's also been told me she's bigger. Like, I had to actually say that. And then she kind of like backed down a way. She kind of was like, yeah, like that's what she was going to say. So she says, like, mentioned C-section again. I'm getting sick of the word. I'm getting sick of being mentioned C-section. To be honest, unless I'm not daft. If there's a problem with the baby, you know, if I don't trust midwives and stuff. Like, I can see them in the we want to monitor her, and then I asked her about why is this baby so big. I'm keeping up my activity and everything. She says, does nothing, it's genetic. I was like, what? Then she started talking to me about metabolic syndrome, which is obviously super interesting to me. It's just a little bit annoying how they assume that you don't know like anything about this, which I guess the average person doesn't know that much. Like, when she's talking about metabolic syndrome and fatty liver and this is how babies come out bigger and stuff like that, it is really interesting and stuff. But the point is, every time I go to the midwives and doctors, like consultants, I'm always given a new doctor. So you're really able to pass on any information and build a rapport, and so they know your level of understanding. And say we're going into all that. However, Scott was there and he did find it interesting as well. But she said just because the baby's big doesn't mean it's healthy. In my case, it obviously is. But she was talking about like people who are obese and like really big framed, they can have a small baby, but if they had an unhealthy diet, would have like a big baby, fatty liver, problems for the rest of their life, you know, allergies and etc., metabolic syndrome. But yeah, I was very shocked to learn that. So I was then talking to my sister who's in the second year of midwifery, and my stepmom, and that said about water birth. And I don't think they're keen to do that because I had a 4th degree tear. However, my sister was like, well, you can still go in there for pain relief. It's like, good point. So changing some of my birth plan, I want to go in there for pain relief, hyper pain relief. I love a water birth, I love water, and I love dim lights. Just so relaxing to me. I'm like a whale. Like I'm 32 weeks practically. In another 2 weeks I've got an antenatal appointment. Probably talk to me about iron again. And then 2 weeks later, wait, hang on, that's 34. Anyway, that was another thing I didn't like about the doctor. She was like, okay, we're going to schedule. What do you think about a sweep? She kind of didn't word it like that. She kind of was like, why don't we get you booked in for a sweep kind of thing. In this 38th week. Says, well, what are the risks of a sweep? Because as far as I'm aware, false labour and infection, she says, I've never in all my years experienced infection before. Obviously, she says, it doesn't matter who does it because you're literally just sweeping your finger around the cervix and trying to release already there, not just a bit dormant, prostaglandins, the hormone to kickstart labour. I remember my sweep with Ariadne when I was 42 weeks, and the doctor pulled out my mucus plug. Didn't tell me he was doing that, just did it. Again, like in a few years, the book will be soon for that. Yeah, he just pulled it all out. So again, I need to be on the ball that they don't pull out the mucus plug without me knowing. I want it to come out naturally this time. And there's obviously a risk of them popping the amniotic sac, and then infection can get in, but that never happened with me. Very unlikely that you get an infection, because I was like, how do I control that risk? She says it probably will happen. Still don't know how I feel about an induction at 38 weeks. It's pressure. You're getting pressured already. I'm 32 weeks. I'm already getting pressured to go into labour at 38 weeks. I just find it, when I was at 42 weeks, like everyone was on it as, oh, we need to get you in every day or something, like to be monitored, like baby's all right and stuff. They say, like, I just find, like, my experience, obviously, like the midwives are meant to be there and support whatever you're wanting. But so far, all I've seen is C-section, inductions, like scaremongering about my tear happening again. When it is scar tissue, it's thicker, stronger. It's my little girl. So yeah, that's the update on that. So this week, full week, I've not trained at all. I wanted to train. I would have trained twice this week, strength. However, at least my iron made it difficult. So I concentrated on steps and managing my protein and things. Not like a week's going to make zero bit of difference. The last week I had off was in the first trimester. Do want to train later today, but going for a walk, so I might just stick with that again and have a week off. No dramas. I would have done Pilates, but my Pilates class is off for Christmas. However, should have still done something. But I'll feel alright.